If I get a few insults, that's okay.
$50, sad dollars. Here we go. Brian Delane.
Here's a quarter. President Leroy called mine. Yes, here's a quarter for last week. Appreciate her. I did shake my hand. Here's another $5.
That's the spirit. There's a fellow with some spirit. Okay, we can run it real quick today because, hi young lady.
Use the monitor.
What's your name? Holly, pleasure to have you here.
Oh, but if it gets, tell me, let me know.
We have Ryan.
He'll give you the fairy eyeball.
If I get too long, try to give me a couple minutes warning so I can wrap it up. Okay, I will.
President Leroy, fellow lines and guests, I have $2 today, one happy, one sad. The happy dollar is that Anita is probably not going to have operation on her detached retina. And the sad dollar is that Anita and I agreed to sell the S2000.
What is that, a lawnmower or a...
Yeah.
Oh!
Blow more out.
How about that poor guy that put out $11,000 for a Chevy station wagon that he didn't get? He did it online. Very sad. Thank you. What's up? Brian Jim.
President Leroy, fellow Lions and guests. I'd say I'm happy to be here, but the fact is I'm happy to be anywhere. So.
David? Okay, I went right on past you. Okay, Lion David.
There's a happy microphone for the hello, President Leroy, President Leroy, and fellow Lions and guests. I'm just as happy as you are. You don't really have to be happy as you are, but I'm as happy as most people are here, and my happiness is based on love, kindness, patience, a lot of things, but mostly kindness. And this particular short version of the song fits me well. I think it'll fit well with all of you, and I think the content is acceptable. I'm so happy, and here's the reason why. Jesus took my burdens all away. Once I was full of sin and strife. Now I'm singing as the days go by. Jesus took my burdens all away. That fits it for me. I hope it helps with everybody else.
Okay, thank you, David. Passed.
Sorry.
Zone chair. Yes, I got it, Terry. Perry. Did I ask you to be the mystery shaker today? Okay.
No, you didn't. King Lion Leroy, fellow Lions and guests. Got a happy dollar for I am here today, but I'm gone to Maui on Thursday. So I won't be here next Tuesday, and I know that's embarrassing. And happy Valentine's Day to all of you.
Whoa! Lion Patty, Pat.
King Lion, fellow Lions and guests. I have a couple dollars. One of them, you might think it's bad, or you might think it's happy. It's up to you. But as you noticed, my husband is not here today.
Yay!
And you also might have noticed, I don't have wedding rings on anymore. But I don't want you to get the wrong idea. He is homesick. I'm old and have arthritis, and they had to cut my rings off. But I'll get last Wednesday was Letterman Tent Day. And if you don't know what Letterman Tent Day is, that is when the coaches have been out since football season are over, before and after recruiting. Letterman Tent Day is when these kids, the 18-year-old kids who've been trying to get to come to Sacramento State, finally agree they will come. He recruited 3 wide receivers. And last December, when they had early Letterman Tent Day, he had 2 more. So he has recruited 5 wide receivers this year. We should have another good team next year.
Lions, Greg. President Leroy, fellow Lions, yes, I have a happy buck here. Well, happy and sad. Happy that Pat showed up without her husband. And my nemesis is gone today, so I don't have to worry about a wet napkin on my seat or anything. So it's a pretty good day, and I guess I'll owe you another dollar too. My grandsons, 10 and 7, are taking up wrestling, which is very interesting because they're young and they're doing well. They're really doing well, and they like it, and so it keeps them out of other trouble, I guess. So anyway, thank you. Get the other dollar up. Yeah, and tip your chair. I'll be right back, Mark. Fine Gale.
President Leroy, fellow Lions and guests, this is a sad dollar. June McDaniel, 2 of her granddaughters, and a guy that they know were in a rollover accident near southbound on I-5 in Tacoma. So right now, June went up to get the one granddaughter. Yeah, it was a bad accident. They are all alive, but yeah, Brenda, Amina's, the little girl that's her mom, she has to be in the back brace for 5 to 6 weeks. So, it was bad.
Okay. Okay, you're going to get up by yourself. Well done. Well, Lion Bill.
Good night, Leroy, fellow Lions and guests. I'm with you. I lost my ring to arthritis 20 years ago. And I already had my cord slit, so we're okay. But the thing is, my good news is, I went to the dentist yesterday to get my final checkup. And I'm 80 years old, and so I figured it was time to get a final checkup of my teeth. And they come back with a quote of $20,000. I'm looking for a dentist.
I'll do it for 10,000.
Holy cow. I'm Ron.
President Leroy, fellow Lions and guests, in my tradition of roasting members, I want to point out that now Bill Pontius has lost a foot and a big toe on the other foot. So he's now negotiating with his toe doctor to get a pay only 40% of a full manicure because he's only got 4 toes.
Did you feel that? Of course you didn't feel it. You don't have a foot. That's District Governor Mark.
President Leroy, fellow Lions and guests, just feel the love in this room. Happy dollar number 1. Last Wednesday I sat down for lunch and had a big surprise. No notation to you being large, just a surprise that Gary Hill showed up for lunch and we enjoyed lunch together. And the extra happy part of that is he remembered to bring me my leftovers to work that I left on the table. Happy dollar number 2, I'm looking forward to the district governor visit next Monday night because it's a holiday. I can actually get it off, and I'm looking forward to finally getting to the district governor's visit, which is nice. Sad dollar for me, probably happy for the rest of you. I have work conflicts next Tuesday, so I won't be here.
Yay!
Bill,
Lose my batteries here. It doesn't matter. It's only past zone check, great.
President Leroy, fellow lines and guests, I got $3 here from Dolly, our treasurer. First one is a very happy dollar. Doug's in Chicago learning to be a district governor. And the other two, they're sad dollars from her. Phoebe is leaving Sunday for Florida. She'll miss her. And the other one, she's got an extremely bad cold. That's why she's not here. Then I've got $1 for me. Yesterday was my 39th birthday. For the 35th time.
Valentina.
President Leroy, fellow lines and guests, I too am happy that these guys are my friends. Can you imagine if they didn't like you? And my other happy dollar is because I'm here. You know, and Mark, maybe it's a sad dollar because I was going to suggest that Mark and I drive together next week.
Oh, okay. Past Council Chair Al.
Thank you very much, most honorable. And a vice president as a tail twister? My goodness. President Leroy, fellow lines and guests, had a good weekend up at the Council of Governors meeting where I saw the, Louis and, his wife, whatever her name is, Cindy, and Carolyn and Steve and all. It was just a good meeting. And the other happy dollar is I'm really not sure why.
Because I have a brother.
Second, Vice District Governor, and the reason I wore this tie today.
President Leroy, fellow Lions and guests, let's hope I can remember what I'm saying. Happy Buck. We're going to go visit Marty and Ken in Vegas next week, so you won't see us here next Tuesday. I can't remember. Whoops. I got another dollar here. Oh, I know, it was last weekend, yes, about you being at council meeting. And we also stopped at our son's house and had a great time with our children on the way home. We spent an extra night on the road. We went to Bellingham for our MD-19 council and ate at a great Greek restaurant. You guys need to drive to Bellingham just for the restaurant. One more, just real quick. May I please?
I thought it gave you gas.
No, not me. I have another dollar. It's a warning dollar. I just got a text from our son, who is a policeman in Tacoma, and he said that I-5 corridor from, I think, Bellingham to Longview, someone's skimming I-5 chevrons, debit cards, credit cards. So he recommended going on to something else for a pay.
Fine, Cheryl.
President Leroy, Lions, guests, glad to see everybody here. This is by way of a reminder dollar. You know what this week is? It's Valentine's Friday. And you know what they say about Friday night? Friday night is date night. So you guys out there, if you haven't got something special planned for that lovely lady that takes such great care of you, get on it. As for me, I have heart emoji eyes because I get to be a part of the most wonderful service club in town, full of the most warm-hearted people I could be around.
Which one is that?
Did you join another club? Past President and current Secretary Phil.
President Leroy, fellow Lions and guests, two happy dollars. One is that I am almost recovered from the crud that's going around. I can breathe again, and that's very nice. Second is with Valentine's Day coming up, and I know you are all struggling to get the perfect gift for your sweetie, so I'm happy to announce the availability of officially NCAA sanctioned Gooey Duck football sweatshirts. And I am your contact for those. Take orders and cash only, please. So come see me.
same guy that sold that station wagon.
Past President, Lion Jim.
President Leroy, fellow Lions and friends, I just love the way Steve does this logical approach of just the scattering around the room to find people with happy bugs. That's great. I'm here. I want to say thank you very much to a couple of people. No, you're here.
That's one, Jim.
If you didn't show, I'd say thank you. Pat, I'm sorry. I appreciate the invitation. It was so tempting to go to the Silver Star with you right after the meeting, but Bill invited me to the Triangle Tavern first. And I'm also going to have to say no on your invitation to Friday night, date night. I'm sorry, Cheryl. Thank you. It's wonderful. And I'm going to be gone next week, so you won't have to put up with me.
Patrick? Sure, you're always good for a buck. Or more. Past President, Lion Pat.
Thank you, Lion Steve. Hey, Lion Leroy. Oh, Lions, guests. How's everybody doing today?
Great.
The garage cleaning saga continues. I am now the proud owner of 9 dead vermin. And I can actually see a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's because I finally got enough stuff moved out of the way that the light actually hits the floor. So that's the good news. Let's see. Had a great afternoon with Lion Dwayne on Saturday. I had a motorboat problem. Beautiful, I think 1956 we determined. Evan Root that just didn't want to start, and we know what the parts are. And Lion Dwayne, I got the best news in the world. I got the business card of Mike Zonich that used to have the True Value in Kelso, and he has every part for every boat owner on the planet. So if anybody needs a hookup, let me know. The last part is Lion Hal made me go to the yacht club meeting last night, where I found that there's actually a group of people just slightly more derelict than you all.
Leroy, take it away.
Past President.
Oh, wait a minute.
We're not even turned on here. You ready? There we are. Hey. Somebody else? Oh, Cindy's got one.
I'm sorry, Cindy. Don't share, Cindy.
President Leroy, members and guests, I also went to the Council of Governors meeting over the weekend up in Bellingham. It was a great meeting. They have a pre-meeting the night before, 7:30. They talk about the stuff that might be controversial, so they get that out of the way. And then the next morning, they have the general meeting. So I got to find out that 2021 winter conference is going to be in Surrey, Canada. I was hoping it'd be in the States, but going to Canada is fun too. And then we stayed an extra day because I wanted to see the sights of Bellingham. We did that in like 2 hours. We were done. And then we came back to the hotel and we got a nice phone call from Peter Anderson, and they invited us, those who had left or who were left there, to the office, which is almost next door to the hotel. So we got to play games that night. It was a really good evening. So, thank you.
Okay. I think that's it, Leroy.
Oh, sure. I've got a couple. But I like to talk while you come up here. Past presidents, fellow Lions and guests. Does John have something? I have a couple of happy bucks. My daughter Grace, who is a sophomore at George Fox, got listed on the dean's list. So that's great there. And with all the happy Valentine's Day stuff going around, Friday is also Melissa's my 23rd wedding anniversary, and I got the best gift of all, and that was me. So there we are. You ready? Just rings and rings and rings. Okay. Invocation will be given by past President John Claypool.
Thank you, Leroy. Father, we stand before you in thanksgiving for the many blessings that you bestow on us. Ask you to watch over our family, friends, watch watch over this club. Help us in all we do to help others. We thank you for sending your son to save us, and we thank you for this food. Bless it to our bodies as we give you the praise. Amen.
Amen. Pledge will be led by Lion Bob Bradley. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our song today will be led by Secretary Phil Olson. My country is of the sweet land of liberty, of the I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of thy pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside let freedom ring. Thank you. Okay, we'll roll on to announcements. Play ball. Is this thing on? I gotta get really close, I think. Okay, I'm gonna start off with just a reminder. The board meeting will be this Thursday, February 20th, over at the Kelso Elks. If you want to put, board members, if you want to put on your calendar, the March meeting will be on the 19th, also at the Kelso Elks. And for those who wonder why I'm going to Kelso Elks, well, I'm on vacation, and so I won't be around on either the fourth Thursdays or the second Thursdays, or I'm just here for the third. So there you go. First announcement, Greg Swanson. Yeah. Oh, hey, guest. Oh, I guess we have to do guests. Hang on. Hang on, Greg, hang on 1 second. I got to introduce guests with the other Greg. That's okay.
President Leroy Lions and guests, we do have some. Lion Jim Waters as a guest.
It's an honor to introduce, what's his name here? Blue Lock. Yes. He knows more people here than I do. Welcome, Blue. Hey, Bruce.
And Lion Mike Bowen has a guest.
President Leroy, Colin, yes, it's an honor to introduce my great niece, Holly Harris.
That's it.
All right, thanks. Okay, now we'll go on to, as the mic moves, to Greg Swanson.
Now I've got nothing to say. President Leroy, fellow members and guests, Spirits of Longview, as some of you know, maybe most of you know, that we tried to do sharing of the event with the St. Rose Church, and we thought that would be a good location and help out with manpower and so forth. But we, after several weeks, we got turned down by the Archbishop in Seattle. So he said that he didn't think that was the type of event that good Catholic people should be involved with. So you can take that for what it's worth. Everyone I've known would have been fine. Anyway, so we're back, I guess we're back at the convention center. We've still got that reserve, and the rest of it we're still putting together. So, but we're planning to have it anyway. Okay. That'll work out fine, Jim.
Thanks. Next will be Gina has a, what? Who are you pointing to? Oh yeah, hey, let's go in order how they're close. Sandy.
President Leroy, fellow Lions and guests, I have a few spots left for the book giveaway at Columbia Heights Elementary on Monday, March 9th. It's a ton of fun. This is a great project that our club does to take over where the Reading is Fundamental program left off when that disbanded. We distribute books and there are a few spots left, so the blue sign-up sheet will be over here on the table.
Thank you. Next will be Gina.
President Leroy, fellow Lions and guests, I haven't really had an opportunity yet to talk to you about my new job, but I do intend to do that in the near future. But this club has been very supportive of Habitat for Humanity, and they have a couple of events that are coming up before I have an opportunity to talk about that. And so if there's anybody here, if you know anyone who needs to attend an event for becoming a homeowner, if you know someone who fits into the category here, there will be a meeting on February 27th at noon at the Habitat office over in South Kelso. And so we're trying to get a bunch of people invited to that so we can get some residents lined up so that we might help them into housing. I don't know if you are aware or not, but Washington, there's 1 in 6 now people who pay more than 50% of their income for housing. So if you know someone who needs to come to this event, I'm going to leave the flyer here. And with that being said, we have a couple of women's bills coming up. And one is going to be on March the 7th, and the other on May the 9th. And the March the 7th one just come to us this week. We need to get that one done in order to qualify for a grant. So if you've got a little bit of time on your hands, we can certainly use you for women's bill. Thank you.
Thank you. Next would be past zone chair Greg Firth.
President Leroy, fellow Lions and guests, 2 announcements. First announcement, tomorrow night, 6:30 at Canterbury Park is our monthly Sight and Hearing Foundation meeting. I don't know how many applications for eyeglasses and hearing aids we have for tomorrow night, but they're very interesting meetings. Anybody can attend. Again, that's at 6:30 at Monticello Park. Just go up the elevator to the 2nd floor, and the meeting room is right across.
President Leroy, members and guests, we have February 17th is the district governors joining Council of Lions, and February 22nd is our cabinet meeting down in Toledo? No. CG's Toledo, right. I always get those two mixed up. Lions Learning Forum is coming up. Be sure to sign up for that. It's March 14th. And then the Roaring 20s theme for the spring conference, which is April 24th through the 25th. And so there's forms here to fill out, and also you can do it through email.
Else have any announcements? Okay, moving on. I want to introduce our program chair, Cheryl Coast.
We are privileged today to have with us Alan Erickson, Port of Longview Board of Directors Commissioner and President of the Commission. Alan was appointed to the Board of Commissioners in 2018, representing District 3. Alan is a local, was a local business owner still? Okay. Not, okay. Was born and raised in Cowlitz County, where he still lives, of course, with his wife. They have 4 children. He's also a Rotarian and be nice, and an active member of the community, serving on the board of Longview's Twin City Bank. Alan graduated from the University of Washington with a bachelor's degree in political science. In November of 2019, he was elected to serve a full 6-year term on the commission. As far as we know, Alan's official full term runs from 2020 to 2026. Also with us today is Alan's right-hand technical man, Dan Polacek, who is the communications coordinator at the port. Welcome to you guys. Alan, tell us what's going on.
Thank you, Cheryl, and thank you, Lions, for this opportunity to come and share with you the port story. First, a couple of things, acknowledgments. Dan especially, because Dan's the one that did all of this. I'm just a talking head here, but he's the one that put it all together and did all the visuals, and he, he's just a great employee at the port, provides a good deal of communication to the community. So I just want to acknowledge him with that. And I want to talk about my recent election campaign in November, because obviously all you folks in this room know that George Rader was on the other side of the equation, and I was fortunate to prevail in the election. But in this day of acrimony with the electoral politics, I just want to compliment George and I think my group as well, in that we kept things positive and focused on the issues with the port, and I really appreciate that, and I want to acknowledge George with that. Thanks, George. With that said, obviously I'm a proud Rotarian, so I'm here on enemy turf. So anything that you might want to throw my direction, I'll try to duck. But greetings from Longview Rotary. I'm in the noon group at Rotary, and certainly I want to acknowledge what you folks do with the Lions Club, because you guys are out there so much and you do so many things for the community. And the book project that I just heard you mention, that is part of replacing the RIF program, we do that as well, and it's just it's a great program, and I just so much appreciate what you guys do, and obviously you do a lot. So with that said, I'll move on to talk about the port a little bit. So what we have here is the portraits of the three commissioners. Jeff Wilson is the longest serving commissioner in the group, and Jeff will be up for election in 2021, assuming that he chooses to stay with the program. Doug Avert represents District 2, and Doug will be up for election in 2023. So, and I'm a ways out there. So with that said, that's our leadership at the port. So this is our CEO, Norm Kreibel, and Norm, he's really kind of a strange deal, because I was elected on Tuesday and Norm announced his retirement on Friday. I'm not sure those two things are connected, but they may be, I don't know. But anyway, Norm is retiring at the end of this month, and so we're in the process of looking for a new CEO at the port. We're casting a broad net. We've announced Dan Stahl as an interim CEO, and Dan will serve us well in that capacity. But we're going to search far and wide to try to find somebody that's going to bring continued success to the port. And Norm has led us well, and have so much respect for what he's been able to accomplish with the port in the number of years that he's been there. But he's moving on, and so are we. So we need to continue with the success that we've had right now. So here's a little history of the port. So the Port District Act was signed in 1911, and it was really designed to combat the influence of the railroads in the state, because the railroads were just totally dominating business, and particularly property acquisition and business development. And so the governor signed the authorization to form port districts in 1911. In 1921, our friends in Kelso put together a port, and it was located on the Cowlitz River, and continued to function for a period of time. And then the city of Longview hijacked the port of Kelso and moved it across the river in 1925, and it was renamed the Port of Longview, and has continued in that venue ever since. 1926 was the major improvement at the port, when Continental Grain announced that they were going to begin service out of the Port of Longview, and you'll see that those grain elevators continue to be there to this day, in spite of the fact that they haven't functioned for decades. But so this is a little indication of how widespread our market area is at the Port of Longview. Most of our market is in Asia, and we continue to expand, and we think of China particularly these days with all the chatter that goes on with trade and our negotiations with tariffs with the Chinese. But the reality is our biggest trade partners are not China, but Japan, Korea. Recently, we've really increased Malaysian business, and as well as obviously China continues to grow as well. But it's a relatively small portion of our business. So this is a quick snapshot of where we're at with our tonnage of exports or imports and exports, and the revenue that corresponds with that. So you can see that in 2019, our tonnage dropped off dramatically, and that had a good deal to do with the tariff issues. Our exports to China basically disappeared, particularly soybeans, but also we had political difficulties throughout much of Asia impacted our other exports as well, and particularly with some of our grains, and corn fell off of the chart in terms of the volume that we exported to Japan and Korea. Revenue didn't fall as much as our tonnage did, so you see that over here compared to this, revenues stayed relatively up, and particularly with overhead being fairly stable, made it a little bit more challenging to bring profits to the bottom line. We haven't had our final numbers announced yet for the year end of 2019, but we're going to net somewhere in the $7 million range for the year, and that compares to 2018 of about close to $10 million. So it's certainly a fall off, but we continue to be profitable and have some dollars to reinvest in the community. Okay, so Dan did this thing with his friendly drone. He's the drone guy. This is kind of cool. I'm going to step aside with that.
Where's the ships?
How can I hold our sailboats? Trying to get through immigration.
So that gave you just a real quick overview, and thanks, Dan, for doing that. There's so many things I could comment about that, but I won't. But when we get to the end here, maybe you'll have some questions that I can address and try to deal with that at that point in time. Go ahead, Dan.
busy. There we go. Alan, do you want to talk about the various?
Sure, I'll step in here and talk about some of these things. So soda ash is one of our biggest export items, and you may recall having seen this slide on there that had IRM on there, International Raw Materials. We just expanded or rewrote our lease with them, and they'll be doubling their export volume with the Port of Longview over the next several years, and that's a big deal for the port. It's a big deal for our community. You all should be aware of that, and it's a company that few people have any awareness of in our community, and yet what they bring to the table is a big deal for us. And so when we talk about, well, we'll move on and I'll get back to it in a minute. So calcined coke is a byproduct of the petroleum industry, and it's used to in the aluminum smelting business, and it's an export item that we handle for British Petroleum. Logs, of course, they are what they are, and we compete with our friends at Weyerhaeuser for log export volume, and Teven Brothers across the river in Oregon is also involved with the log export business, and they're the ones that provide the raw material for us as we export. Potash, again, another component of fertilizer, and it is a hit and miss commodity item for the port. Steel, we have three tenants on port property that are in the steel business, whether it's construction steel or whether it's steel pipes, but that's what one of our bigger items, and continues to grow. Grain, here's our bread and butter for the Port of Longview these days, and as a commissioner, having EGT on board makes it just way easier. Those folks who were on the commission back in the early 2000s really struggled financially, and we ended up at the Port of Longview having to sell some property to continue to be solvent, and that's not the case any longer. We rely on EGT for a substantial portion of our revenue and volume, as well as for employment. Iron oxide is used in the energy industry, and project cargo is just whatever happens to come up that from time to time we get requests to either import or export a particular commodity that is not anticipated, but it comes to us, and we certainly pursue those opportunities as they come up. So this is an aerial as you're kind of following the path of the rail expansion project. So berth 4 is actually ready for development. It's designed for a lay berth at this point in time. So the ship traffic, as it moves up and down the river that needs a place to park, they can park there, and we do that. So that project that you saw there with the North Rail connection is a project that we're initiating for this calendar year, and it's astounding how complicated it is to have any kind of construction at the Port of Longview. The permitting process is lengthy and can be really cumbersome with obstacles that get presented that you had no idea were there. So with that said, it should be a fairly easy project to get in the works and accomplish, but who knows how that might turn out for us. But as part of our agreement with IRM, as they expand their capacity, and I mentioned that they were going to double the volume that they were exporting through the Port of Longview. And to do that, they have to have way better rail access than what they have right now. And so we've committed to them to make this North Rail Corridor expansion done fairly quickly so that they can have access to continue to expand their volume. And so we'll be working on that, and that project is a little in excess of $2 million. In exchange for that, they're going to be doing some renovation at their vessel dock, which is berth 2, and they'll be spending $3 million in excess of that in the next several years to renovate that dock, and doing it at their expense. So they're providing some infrastructure improvement for us. We're providing some infrastructure improvement for them, and it all makes it work and makes it successful for them and for us as well. So I want to talk about the rail corridor project that was mentioned early on. I think it was the first one clip that Dan had here. And this is a long-term project for us, and it's a big deal. This has been on our long-term plan for a number of years. I see it on our the first mention I see of it looking back in our history is 2011. So we've been working on it for that lengthy period of time. It's really difficult to expand that rail corridor to the number of lines that we want to do, and it's a challenge to come up with the real estate, and how do you do that? And so we're working on that. Again, it's a long-term process. We hope to have it completed within the next 6-7 years, but it's a project that's somewhere between $70 and $100 million. So it's a big deal for the port, big deal for the community, a big deal for our longshore friends as we look to expand our employment opportunities at the port. And if you recall seeing that berth 4, which is the lay berth that we have there now, that's been developed as a lay berth, so ships that are moving up and down the river can park there and take advantage of an opportunity for just passing time while they're waiting for an opportunity to get into a port somewhere along the river. And last year we had a ship that was there for a lengthy period of time that had been impounded, and they paid about $400,000 to the port to park that ship there because it had been impounded. So it was there for a long period of time, and it was a nice little revenue boost for us without having to have any expenses that corresponded with that. But if you look at that development on berth 4, there's not a lot there, and it can be removed when we find a permanent tenant for that berth, and we're seeking diligently to bring somebody to the port that's going to bring a substantial piece of business to the port, meaning import-export volume and jobs. And so we're looking to do those two things with that berth, and we have some interest in it at this point in time. Nothing obviously that we can announce right now, but we're looking with excitement to continue to develop that berth 4. And part of that rail corridor project that I mentioned that was the $70 to $100 million bit, that's related to the berth 4 redevelopment, because these days customers at the port, when they talk about commodities, are looking at unit trains, and they come in and they're 100 cars long, and you have to be able to accommodate that, and you have to be able to accommodate handling that amount of material, and it just takes a lot of infrastructure to make all of that happen, and it's a cumbersome and major investment process to have all of it occur. So, you know, I could talk about other things. What did I miss, Dan? Anything? Oh, sure. You know, we're excited about moving into the White House. Dan has it down as a May completion date. Started in December as a completion date, and then it moved to February. And then, of course, you know, when you renovate an old building, things happen. And we discovered some things that, of course, were surprising to us and to our friends at J.H. Kelly who are doing the construction project. And so they pushed that back a bit, having to redo some HVAC stuff that was not on the agenda when we began the project. So now we're looking at May, and hopefully we'll get in there by that time. And at that point in time, we're going to have an open house, and I really hope all you folks take advantage of that and come down and take a look at what we end up with. I haven't seen it in process either. I saw that before, and I had, you know, over my business dealings over decades of time, I was there from time to time, and so I had an appreciation for what the before was. But the after, I think, is going to be really special, and you know, we're spending about $2.4 million on that. So, you know, we're putting a good deal of money in it to make that happen, and yet still maintaining the integrity of the business, the way, or the building, the way it has been for decades. What else? Good. Sure, questions, absolutely. Hal, you're last. Pat, I'm not doing Pat either. Right here.
A couple things.
Sure.
Easily first, IRM, what does it stand for?
International Raw Materials.
Okay,
They're not a local company, they're a national company that deals with many ports nationwide. Pat, go ahead. With that said, thank you all very much for your attention. And I'll be here if you want to catch me afterwards.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you. And Alan, thank you for coming to speak to us. Have a mug for your favorite beverage.
Right.
And if you want to jump ship from Rotary, there's an application.
I thought Cheryl was moving over to our side because she made those compliments about it.